Harem manhwas. We are all familiar with how shitty and generic their storylines can be, where the main character just farms new girls with his immense charisma and riz and whatnot. And yeah, I know they both are technically the same word, but trust me, the people who read harem manhwas don't have that kind of information. Anyways, this is usually the favorite genre of 17-year-old insecure boys with an addiction to corn that think they can pick up girls like this in school. By the way, this is not personal experience, just an observation. Moving on. As you all probably know, the harem manhwas on the internet have little to none backstories of the female leads and very badly written motivations for them to fall for the main character. And by that, I mean you can't believe how shitty their plot is. It's another world, it's another dimension. Also, the fact that they feel like trophies for the main character to collect instead of people, which was, by the way, one of the main reasons for my hatred to this genre. But this manhwa proved me wrong. Well-written character arcs, a non-compromising main storyline that is not overshadowed by the harem aspect, female leads whose whole story doesn't just revolve around the main character, side characters that feel important and not like they were made just to fill the space in the panels when the main character and his girls are talking. And overall, a great read. The manhwa I'm talking about is The Extras Academy Survival Guide, a beautiful mix of isekai, academia, and of course, harem. Let's go ahead and talk about why this manhwa is so special and why I'm glazing it so much. One day while searching the depths of hell to cure my boredom, I came across this manhwa. Yeah, that was a bit too dramatic, wasn't it? It was just Reddit, but come on, there's hardly any difference between hell and Reddit. And at least saying hell doesn't make me look like a pedo, which I am not, by the way. Please keep that in mind. Anyways, staying on track. At first the title sounded like a generic academy manhwa, but I was so bored that I could have read a Chinese cultivation manhwa at that point. So I just started reading it, expecting a complete academy brainrot storyline. But I realized soon enough that I was completely wrong about it. I was taken aback by how well written and entertaining this manhwa was. Now you're probably thinking that I'm glazing this manhwa way too much, which I kinda am, but you'll see why in a minute. Let me explain the story a bit, and there will be minor spoilers, but of course, nothing major, so don't worry about it. The main character of our story is a person who entered a game called a failed swordsman of Sylvania, or Sylvania. Pronounce it however you want, I don't care. But unfortunately, he didn't enter as the main character, or even an influential side character. Like, not even an important villain, but as a third-rate villain, Ed Ross-Taylor, who was supposed to appear at the start of the game just for the main character to kick his ass and not appear for the rest of it. Yeah, the only other time he appears is at the end credits of the game where he's seen begging in a corner of some street. Ed's image in the academy is of a filthy noble who's hated by everyone because of his arrogance and typical noble behavior. He tried to rig the entrance exam to fail a certain person, whose identity you will find out if you read the manhwa, during which he got caught and got kicked out of his dorms, got disowned by his own family, and now has nowhere to live in the academy and nowhere to go outside of it. Basically, he's in the worst situation one can be. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for the guy at this point. I mean, bro was isekai at the worst moment possible, in the worst character possible. And now Ed, or the main character who was isekai inside it. Yeah, it's too complicated. Let's just call him Ed for convenience, okay? So Ed has to somehow make things right for himself, or at least survive to not end up as a beggar. And for that, his grand plan is to graduate. Yep, he literally plans to graduate. That's his one and only plan. My man couldn't escape the rat race of academics even after he got isekai'd. Anyway, to fulfill his grand plan, he plans to let the story of the game plan out as it would have normally and not interact with the main character or other important characters, so that it doesn't cause a huge butterfly effect like every isekai character thinks at one point. But unfortunately for him, and fate had other things in store, and he ends up entangled in pretty huge messes every single time he tries to keep the original storyline of the game intact. I know, it sounds a little generic right now, but what makes this manhwa interesting and fun is its unique story, detailed characters, and a pacing of the story that feels absolutely perfect. The author Zama makes you feel close to each and every character and understand them in 70 or so chapters, which some manhwas fail to do even after long story arcs. You even feel close to the side characters and the things they do feel in line with the characters, and not just forced by plot to do something completely unusual that they would never do. Heck, even the spirits have personalities and aren't just mindless summons that are used in fights. And talking about characters, the backstories are also very beautifully integrated into the main plot so that it doesn't feel like a different manhwa and we don't get bored of reading their backstories. I mean, come on, no one wants to read 10 chapters of backstory of a character who's literally about to die. At that point, you don't even feel empathy towards the character, you just feel annoyed because you're forgetting the main plot because of this long ass backstory. And yes, lookism, I'm talking about you. Anyways, moving on. The story itself is divided into acts like a story game is, and each act has its own villain, but unlike other harem manhwas where there is new female lead in every new arc and the MC saves them from disasters or problems and makes them fall in love with him, this manhwa is a little different with its harem approach. It introduces most of the core characters in the first few chapters and then focuses on how their bond with the MC and other characters changes over time as they grow together. The thing that surprised me most is how it manages to integrate harem and academia genres so well that it doesn't really feel like the story is just progressing to make the harem work out, and the academy doesn't just feel like the MC's partner farm. You feel that other characters are just as important as the MC and the world doesn't revolve around him alone. And unlike other harem academia stories, it doesn't focus only on one heroine at a time and completely ignore the rest like they don't exist. Everything is well balanced. Now, I know that there are other good harem manhwas like this, but honestly, they are so rare that I have better chances of finding a nether portal before finding two good harem manhwas back to back. Now, since I glazed the characters so much, let's look into some of the characters in the story. We have our main character who was in the body of Ed, who was a complete asshole before the isekai and is hated by everyone in the academy, including other nobles as well. There's the actual main character of the game that our MC entered, Taylor McClure, a talented magic swordsman who was supposed to face the challenges of the story with the main heroines and drive the plot towards its conclusion, but due to the MC entering Ed's body, he ended up as a side character. Also, there's one of the fan favorites, Yenika Failaba, a shy and empathetic genius spirit mage who's extremely powerful and also a major supporter of our main character from the start of his story. We also have the MC's sister, who's introduced pretty late in the story but becomes one of the most lovable characters in a short time. Also, one of my favorite male characters, Clebius Nortondale, Sylvania's top swordsman who comes from a very special family, but has a tragic twist that made him this nervous guy who would rather run away from his fights instead of facing them. Of course, I won't spoil the reason of his trauma, you'll have to read that to find out. I was literally rooting for him whenever something big happens to overcome his fears and become the monster he is. And when that happens, it is such an iconic moment that it will surely make you feel that the wait was worth it. And talking about favorite characters, how can I forget Lucy Merrill, the beef jerky loving genius and lazy mage who's immensely powerful, even more than some professors. But being that overpowered, she lacks understanding of human emotions and just loves to sleep in our main character's hut whenever everyone is busy with academics. Her character arc is one of the best in the entire manhwa, showing how she grows as a person and change in her values along with the bond with the main character. Well, there are other characters apart from these, but I'll not spoil the story too much so you can have fun reading the manhwa, because looking at the progressing character arcs of each of them according to their respective personalities is also one of the fun parts of this manhwa. Also, another thing to talk about this manhwa is its beautiful world building. There's just so many things to explore about this world. Its history, the politics, the magic, the noble families, merchant groups. And all of this is not just prepared with haste, it's very well written and established in the manhwa and feels pretty nice to read. It doesn't bore you with back-to-back history or back-to-back politics. Everything is paced extremely well so you don't feel the slightest bit of boredom. Even the art of the manhwa is consistent with its clean and beautiful style, with some breathtaking panels like these, and these, and these. And honestly, for a weekly manhwa, the art style is pretty impressive. Its art will remind you of manhwas like the beginning after the end, which I consider to be pretty good. Overall, I'd say it's an 8 out of 10 star manhwa that never makes you feel bored or want to give up. It keeps you engaged and on your toes. Now, regardless of all the glazing, I'm not saying that this is the perfect manhwa or the perfect romance. It has its obvious flaws and cliche moments, but even after all that, this is a pretty good read. You can read this manhwa online on official sites, and I'd say this is one of the best times to read this, as season 1 just ended and the ending delivered. It's just epic and leaves the manhwa at an all-time high. Also, if you are already a fan of the manhwa, drop a comment below who's your favorite character, why you think this is better than other harem manhwas, or you think this is the same old generic storyline, or your favorite arc, and if you haven't read it, give it a go and let me know what you think. That was it for the video. Don't forget to hit the like button if you liked the video, and if you didn't like something, let me know in the comments. I'll try to improve it in the next video. Also, if you're a fan of webtoons and manhwas, or even if you're new to the community, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our next analysis on manhwas like this. Let's grow the manhwa community together and bring some good manhwas like this to people's attention. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!